Well, tomorrow night in Paris out at the Stade France, a name will be written on the Webb Ellis Cup for a fourth time, creating history as the rugby nation with the most titles. Three-time champions in South Africa and New Zealand will go head-to-head for the honour of being called world champions for the next 4 years. And to preview this clash between two old foes, we have former Springbok fullback Ricardo Loubscher, as well as a man who knows all about winning a World Cup trophy in Paris. It is the former Springbok captain and John Smit. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us on this Bok Friday right here on Morning Live.
Good morning.
Ricardo,
good morning.
Good morning. Ricardo, let me start with you, because we look at the past 4 years, and when you look at South Africa and where they stand in dominance, where would you put the South African team? Because we are currently the defending world champions. We have a Lions series under our belt. So where would you say we fare in terms of the rest of the world? Forget the rankings, but just in terms of how dominant we've been and how we've been able to show up in the big games.
Yeah, it's been massive. If you look at the success over the last few years, it's been really outstanding. And all credit to the coaches and obviously the players just putting in the hard work. Yeah, but we're all excited about the final, and we can't wait for Saturday.
We are certainly excited. I don't know how most South Africans are going to sleep tonight. But John, let me bring you into this conversation, because you know from a leadership point of view how, as the captain of the team, you allow the players' voice to be heard, their talent to be seen. Let's speak to about the Siya Kolisi leadership, because we've seen him lead this team through murky waters at some point where we've been dominated by the All Blacks. And just talk to us about the journey from just moving in from difficult times into what we now are calling our glory days.
Yeah, I think it's been an unbelievable process to watch Siya and see how he's developed. Always been a fantastic rugby player, but as a captain, he's just developed so much over the years. If I look at my journey, when I started, I was terrified about making calls and decisions and having the responsibility, and relied heavily on a coaching staff that was really strong, and also relied heavily on my players as I moved along as captain. And Siya has done exactly the same. He's grown into the role by really not having a big ego. What you see is what you get with Siya, and he leads the way. He is on the field is the way he's off the field. I love the fact that he's started to become a little bit more forceful with referees in terms of trying to impose the Springboks team's will when it comes to what they want from the game. And the fact that he engages with the world on the good and the bad. You know, when it's time to celebrate, he praises his team, and when it's time to talk about the hard issues and defend some of his teammates, he does that publicly as well. But I think the best character trait about this great man is the fact that he's got so much love for South Africa and for South Africans and for the world, so much time, and he's just always smiling and always giving of his best. You know, people talk about him coming off the field, but we forget quickly that this miracle man did an ACL 5 months ago now because of the World Cup, and yet he's played at every single game for the last 6-7 weeks. So he has been something quite special for this team, and I genuinely hope that he does make history and go back-to-back on the weekend.
We hope so too. Ricardo and John, I'm just going to pause us here for a moment in terms of this interview. We're going to throw over to the main news desk for your morning headlines, and then we'll pick up this interview once again, of course, on the road to the Rugby World Cup with Isuzu, and tomorrow is the big one. But for now, let's get you up to date with those morning headlines.
Loving the interview, V. All right, we'll carry on with it in a moment. Let's just update you on the top stories. Public hearings into the tragic fire which gutted the Usundiso building in the Johannesburg CBD have heard that emergency exits were blocked. Acting Fire Chief Rapolani Monageng was the first to testify before the Commission of Inquiry, tasked with establishing the cause of the blaze which killed 76 people. The Commission was told that exits were blocked by boxes, bricks and mortar, and even locked gates. The High Court in Pretoria will today continue to hear arguments in the Life Esidimeni inquest, which resumed yesterday. Its aim is to determine if anyone can be held criminally liable for the deaths of 144 mentally ill patients during the relocation from the Life Esidimeni to unregistered non-governmental organizations in June 2016. The legal representatives of the families of the deceased patients say there's sufficient evidence for the prosecution of those responsible for their deaths. EU leaders have called for pauses in Israeli bombing and Hamas rocket attacks to get humanitarian aid into Gaza after days of wrangling that highlighted divisions within the bloc over the broader Israel-Palestinian conflict. In a declaration agreed at a summit in Brussels, the leaders of the Union's 27 nations expressed the gravest concern for the deteriorating humanitarian situation in Gaza. The summit was the leaders' first in-person meeting since the deadly October 7 assault on Israel by Hamas, which prompted Israel to bombard the blockade Hamas-run Gaza. All right, that's where we end our news headlines for now. We'll update you at 8 o'clock with a full bulletin. Of course, the big story and probably the top story in the country is what's going to happen in the Stade France in Paris tomorrow night. And V is talking with some incredible guests. So let me hand it right back to her to pick up that conversation. V?
Thank you so much, Leanne. And of course, for the past 2 months, this is what we've been building up to, the final of the Rugby World Cup. And it is South Africa's very own defending champions, the Springbok, that will take on New Zealand tomorrow. And we're all crossing fingers and we're all hoping that the guys will come through for us. And joining me to speak about this in conversation is former Springbok fullback and Ricardo Loubscher, as well as former Springbok captain and Mr. Smit. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your patience there. Ricardo, let me come back to you, because I think during this World Cup, we've just seen bold decisions being made by the technical team of the Springbok side. And we cannot have this interview without speaking about that 7-1 split that we're going to see in tomorrow's final. What do you make of this decision coming through from Jacques Nienaber as well as his technical team?
Yeah, I think that's a clear plan to target New Zealand up front, especially in the scrums, and then obviously using our bench just to close the game. And I think what we can expect is milking penalties from those set pieces, especially scrums and lineouts, and then using Andre just to build scoreboard pressure. And I think that's our style, that's our DNA, how we want to play, and I think that's exactly what we can expect tomorrow in the final.
Do you see it working to our advantage?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's been working for us in the previous games, especially the 7-1 split. I think looking at our forwards, we got enough depth, enough talent there to outmuscle them up front, using our kicking game out on defense just to get in behind them, forcing mistakes. And from those opportunities, build scoreboard pressure. And I think it will be exciting just to watch, and I'm looking forward to the game.
We're all looking forward to the game, but John, something we are hoping is that they don't live it last minute like they did with both France as well as England. Talk to me on your thoughts about the starting 15 that we've got coming out tomorrow, as well as your opinion on that 7-1 split.
Yeah, I do think that it's another incredibly competitive 23, and there were some serious changes. I think the biggest were obviously at 9 and 10, where we see the likes of Faf and Handre going back into the starting lineup, and I think really it's got a lot to do with what the squad needs for what's coming on Saturday. And there's 2 things that are really in play. It's the All Black team, which is a team that has got the ability to turn it on and score points quite quickly, but the other factor is without doubt the weather. You know, we've been here for the better part of 3 weeks, and last weekend's semi-final was near impossible to play any kind of rugby. I even wonder what the All Blacks, who are really good at playing in that kind of conditions, are going to be able to do with ball in hand when it comes to Saturday's weather, because it's very, very slippery. You know, we saw that ball that Jamie George, the English hooker, threw, that he barely got over the 5-meter line, just because of how the ball becomes so slippery in these conditions, because there's still a little bit of humidity as well. So it's going to be an interesting 80 minutes because of the weather, and I think that is why our selection is so spot on. We've got a Faf and a Handre who are far more designed to absorb pressure and manage the game from a territory point of view, and then a 7-1 split is a beautiful thing for a forward to see. I'm just sad it's not 8-0. These backs were getting in the way for a long time in the game of rugby. So, but it is going to be vital because our team has taken us down to the wire and increased our blood pressure for the last 2 weeks with a 1-point win, really at the death. But that's probably the reason why they've gone with they've really picked their method of attack, which is to really force their way through from a physicality point of view and from a forwards point of view, because I don't think even on a good day that we would be able to beat them ball in hand at their own game, but we certainly do have the power game, and we've had 2-3 big weeks of intense games. People forget this will be the 6th team we've played in the top 6 rankings of World Rugby, so the hardest route South Africa's ever had to take in a final. So they need something special, and if you look for something special, you always have to go to the pack of forwards.
You certainly have to. I'd expect you to say that, John. Just as I wrap up with you, Ricardo, let's just talk to Rassie. We cannot ignore Rassie and the influence that he's had on this team. And I mean, he's the same man that picked Siya Kolisi when he wasn't the most experienced man in the team to take up that captaincy role. What do you make of Rassie's role in the Springbok team?
Yeah, I must say great leadership from Rassie and just inspiration. I think look at that choice to go with Siya as captain. That's been unbelievable. A great ride for Siya, and it's really lovely to see how he grew into this inspirational leader. And I think it's great innovation. What we're seeing on the field from Rassie is just the 7-1 split. I think it's unbelievable.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this morning. Good luck for tomorrow. We know all of our heart rates are going to be up, and this is why I'm saying good luck, because all of our heart rates, we're going to have our cardiologists on standby. Those that don't have will get cardiologists tomorrow. But thank you so much for your time this morning. Have a blessed day and enjoy the game tomorrow.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Yep. Thanks so much.
All right, Ricardo Loubscher there speaking to us, as well as former Springbok captain and John Smit. All things the Rugby World Cup. It will be going down tomorrow. SABC will be bringing you that action. You can catch it live on SABC2. Build-up will start at 6:30 p.m. because they're going to be bringing you all the action from all around the country, from different fan parks. You don't want to miss that. Kickoff is, of course, at 9 p.m. It is the Springboks up against New Zealand. Elizabeth D with his nomination also coming through tomorrow. Let's take you through now to a quick ad break.